It's a new school year and I'm ready for that. Got my clothes picked out with the fresh new sneakers. Ready to meet cool friends and teachers.
Chris, it's always great speaking with you. And of course, as we speak, COVID-19 is the big pandemic that's going on around the world. And as we speak, kids are going back to school. I want to get your thoughts on how do you think, we talk about this every year in school safety and things like that. But in your opinion, how are things much more different now with kids going back to school as we deal with COVID-19?
Well, great speaking to you, Rudy. Obviously, I don't want to give any medical advice because I'm a cop. But one of the weird things this year, obviously, is that there's going to be many students that haven't been to school in the last 5 or 6 months, so they're not going to perhaps have their road safety hat on, right? So it's important for parents to remind kids is that as we do start to go back to school, do what we always say. If you're going to cross the street, stop, look, listen, and look again before you cross. And one of the things that I think is going to be a little bit different this year, by the sounds of it, is that there's going to be a number of parents who are going to be nervous about sending their kids on school buses for the whole social distancing thing. So for that reason, I'm thinking that there's going to be some school zones during the pick-up and drop-off hours that are going to be more congested than normal, as parents are going to be driving their kids to school as opposed to putting them on the bus. So, this is something that we've never seen before, and we'll just have to see how it plays out.
You did something that's very important, too, because the same thing, drivers, as we have been dealing with for the last few months, there haven't been a lot of vehicles on the road. But with school starting, as you just mentioned, there'll be more vehicles. Can we say to drivers also about reminding them kids are going back to school, and some may not be going with their parents, some may be walking themselves?
Yeah, well, absolutely. So, obviously, in normal September, back to school, traffic patterns change, right? So oftentimes we see traffic a lot lighter during the summer anyway, but we'll just have to see how this plays out. I always suggest to drivers avoid school zones during the morning drop-off and afternoon pickup. Even if it takes a little bit longer to get out of your neighborhood, get out of your community, to go on the main roadways, do what you can to avoid those school zones, especially this year. And we'll see how this is going to play out over the next several weeks and months.
Now, you kind of already mentioned it earlier, but I want to go over again. What are those, let's call them classic safety tips I remember as a kid, and so many other folks remember, the things that you should do as a child going to school, the things that you have to look out for?
Yeah, well, 100%. So one of the things that I really encourage parents to do is if kids are going to be walking to school on their own, really regardless of the age, to start having them walk before the school year actually starts. So if you're home with your kids, make sure they understand how to get to school, safe way to get to school, cross at, the stop signs, don't cross at mid-block, and just be aware. Just be aware. And obviously, we always say it every year, but we always seem to have the odd tragedy that we really encourage all of our students and parents and pedestrians in general to stop, look, listen, and look again before you cross the roadway.
One of the things I always remember, too, is when you're going to school, one of the best things is go with a buddy if you can. If you can avoid going by yourself, always go with somebody else because that usually helps.
Well, absolutely, yeah. Go with a neighbor, go with a friend, or go with your parents or whatever. Obviously, there's safety in numbers, but mind you, we live in a safe city and a safe province, but it doesn't hurt walking with a buddy, parent, friend, or what have you.
Now, it does happen, especially first day of school. Some kids might get lost and not figuring out which way to go. What do you suggest for the kids?
Yeah, well, absolutely. So if kids do get lost, I would suggest that they find an adult that they think they trust. So that could be a mail carrier, that could be a police officer, that could be a security guard somewhere, And also, it's also a great idea to have kids have their cell phones on them as well. So if they are lost, they can either call their parents, call a friend, or call 911 if there's some kind of a safety issue.
Now, as we speak, as I said, some area schools are starting, some will be starting soon. But the one thing I have noticed, though, that the police force has been out I don't want to say speed traps, but you know what I mean, though. Police are aware of what's going on, and they're checking to make sure that people are not speeding. That's going on right now. Anything you want to say about that, sir?
Yeah, well, absolutely. So, I mean, every year once school starts, the Toronto Police Service in particular has a centralized focus on those school zones. So we'll have officers throughout the day monitoring speed, monitoring drivers' behavior, because we want everybody to get to and from school safe, and we want all of our drivers to ensure that be extra mindful, especially now because we have a number of kids, as I said, that haven't been to school for almost half a year now, and some of them have probably forgot some of those typical safety rules that we try to remind them of every year. So this is going to be obviously we're in a very strange time right now. We've never been through anything like this, certainly not in our lifetime. So we'll see how it plays out.
And one last thing before we go, too, because a lot of the kids will be wearing masks. I have to assume you agree when I say this, because I know kids can be very playful. Masks over the nose and mouth, not over the eyes.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, all that's going to be awkward too, right? So we'll have to see how this plays out. I'm not sure how we're going to keep, primary school kids wearing masks. But yeah, absolutely. Make sure that they fit their face so they're not covering their eyes, so they're able to walk and be safe in the school environment. So fingers crossed that all this works out.
My fingers are definitely crossed. My friend, always a pleasure speaking with you. I guess as we speak, the next time we're going to talk, it's going to be Halloween. It's going to be interesting to see what the conversation is going to be about for that. So,
well, yeah, absolutely. So we heard the mayor talking today about, getting some advice from the public health officials about whether or not Halloween is going to actually be able to be a go. So, yeah, we'll have to stay tuned.
Like you said, interesting.
Yep.
Interesting times, my friend. Look, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for everything that you do, and thank you for what you and the police force do for the community. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Our pleasure, too. Thanks for the time.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.